It was just after sunrise when the pounding started. So loud, I thought our door would split in half. At first I thought maybe it was some kind of emergency, a gas leak or a fire. But then a voice barked out, sharp and self-important. "Open the door, Mr. Collins. Your wife is under arrest." For a split second, I wondered if I was still dreaming. Arrested? My wife. By who? I shuffled to the window in my robe, coffee mug still warm in my hand, and that's when I saw them. Four men in dark shirts with HOA inspector stenciled across their backs like some sort of budget SWAT team. It would have been funny if it wasn't happening on my porch. The tallest of the four stepped forward, and my stomach sank the moment I saw his face. It was Vince Howard, the guy who lived across the street, the one who always bragged about his connections in law enforcement, the one who'd been getting under our skin for months. Except now he wasn't holding a rake or a beer can. He had a sidearm strapped to his hip, sunglasses hiding his eyes, and that smug little half-smile that told me this was no neighborhood chat. "Step aside, Nate," Vince said, his voice dripping with fake authority. "We've had reports of violations. Your wife needs to come with us." Before I could answer, Claire walked in. She wasn't rattled, not even a little. She looked Vince in the eye and asked calmly, "Do you have a warrant?" He blinked like she'd just spoken a foreign language. She pressed again, sharper this time. "Any paperwork? An order? Or are you just out here playing dress up?" The other three guys shifted uncomfortably. One even coughed to hide a laugh. Vince's face tightened, his hand brushing that pistol like he thought it made him powerful. And that's when Claire leaned just slightly toward me and said, "Nate, why don't you call the sheriff's office and report 4 armed men impersonating officers on our porch?" Vince's smirk faltered. For a beat, the only sound was Mrs. Henderson's curtains down the block sliding shut as she peeked through. Then Vince snarled, "You're making a mistake." Claire, steady as stone, replied, "No, Vince. The mistake is yours." That morning was the first domino. 2 years earlier, we'd moved to Willow Creek, a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood far from the noise of the city. I was worn down from years of construction work in San Diego, and Claire said she wanted something simple. At least that's what I thought. She told everyone she was in private security, which sounded vague enough that nobody pushed. The first few months were everything we wanted: cookouts, evening walks, neighbors waving as we passed. That's when we met Vince. At first, he was the picture of helpful. Helped me fix a busted pipe in the garage, complimented Claire's landscaping, even invited us to his barbecue, where he introduced us as the model couple. He called himself the HOA's safety chair, whatever that meant. And for a while, I thought we'd lucked out having a cop, or at least someone connected to law enforcement, living across the street. But everything shifted when we built that fence. Our old wooden one was falling apart, so we hired a crew to put in a 6-foot iron fence. Completely legal, permits and all. The first day of construction, I noticed Vince standing in his yard, arms crossed, watching like a hawk. That evening he knocked on our door, polo shirt with a fake badge stitched on the chest, smile tight. "Mike," he called me Mike even though my name's Nate. "Would you consider lowering that fence? It blocks my view." I told him politely no. We valued our privacy, especially since Claire worked from home. His smile didn't reach his eyes when he said, "As a representative of the HOA, I think you should prioritize community harmony." Days later, we found an envelope in our mailbox on fancy legal letterhead, threatening $500 a day fines for violating HOA aesthetics. But when I called the law firm, they had no record. "Forged." Claire skimmed the letter once and muttered, "They can't do this. We're in full compliance." That was the moment I realized she knew more than she ever let on. The neighborhood started turning cold. Neighbors stopped waving. Little notes appeared on our windshield, sugary in tone, but sharp in meaning. Outsiders don't understand how good neighborhoods work. Claire collected every note, bagged them, labeled them, filed them away. I thought she was just meticulous. Looking back, she was already preparing for war. Vince escalated quickly. He held an emergency HOA meeting right outside our house. 30 people gathered while he painted our fence like a criminal barricade. Then he dropped the bomb, claimed he'd run a background check on Claire and that her job was classified. He hinted she was a national security threat. Neighbors gasped. Some even stepped back from us. I clenched my fists, but Claire only whispered, He just made the biggest mistake of his life. I didn't know then what she meant. That's why, when Vince showed up at 2 in the morning with his little cosplay task force, Claire wasn't surprised. The power cut out first, total darkness. Then came their boots crunching on the gravel, flashlights sweeping the windows, and that thunderous knock. Claire was already dressed, posture straight, calm as ever. She didn't rush. She walked to the door like she was walking into a boardroom. She asked for paperwork. They had none. Vince tried to bluff, and that's when she revealed just enough, a small silver badge pin on her collar. His men shrank back. When they finally slunk away, she locked the door, turned to me, and said something I'll never forget. "My name is Claire Collins. I'm the sheriff of this county." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She told me Vince wasn't just a pushy neighbor. His real name was Vincent Mercer, and he had a history of impersonating cops, harassment, working with shady security outfits. Worse, he was tied to a man named Victor Hale, a real estate scammer who used intimidation to force families out of their homes so he could flip them for profit. And now, apparently, we were on their list. Claire set up cameras, tiny black squares tucked into trees and eaves. She baited Vince with a staged document about training equipment storage. Within hours, our cameras caught him snooping, snapping photos, even meeting with Hale himself in a silver SUV. Piece by piece, she built the case. Vince, meanwhile, strutted around like king of the block, until he finally called a big community meeting. His stage, his moment to humiliate us. But Claire was ready. He stood in front of 30 neighbors, talking about safety hazards and suspicious activity, pointing at our fence like it was a fortress. Then he accused Claire outright, said she was dangerous. That's when she stepped forward, black blazer, hair tied back, calm but sharp as glass. "Vince," she said, "show us your badge number." He stammered, dodged, claimed it was sensitive. Claire clicked her laptop, projecting the county's official roster, his name nowhere on it. Murmurs spread. Then she dropped surveillance footage of him spying through our window, plus an audio clip of him saying, "We'll get them out before the delivery date." The crowd gasped. His fake inspectors looked like they wanted to evaporate. And Vince, he snapped. "You think you can make a fool of me?" he shouted, pulling his pistol. The crowd screamed. Chairs scraped. Phone shot up recording. And Claire, she didn't flinch. She said, calm as ice, "You just made the worst mistake of your life." What happened next was a blur. She stepped inside his line, grabbed his wrist, shoved the barrel skyward. The gun fired once into the air, then in seconds she had him face down on the grass, wrist zip-tied, knee in his back. The neighbors erupted, some clapping, some crying, all of them realizing in real time who the real threat had been all along. Deputies swarmed in minutes later, took Vince away, seized boxes of fake uniforms, fake badges, hard drives full of notes on families he'd targeted. Hale was arrested days later. News vans lined our street, calling it the HOA sting. Claire gave one statement. Simple, powerful. No one, no matter their title or uniform, has the right to intimidate a community for personal gain. Willow Creek changed after that. The HOA reformed, neighbors started waving again, and Claire began teaching monthly safety classes. How to spot fake authority, how to document properly, how not to let paranoia rule your life, but also not to let silence protect bullies. Kids adored her. Parents trusted her. She became the neighbor everyone wished they had. But it wasn't over. Not really. 6 weeks later, a postcard arrived. No return address, just a picture of a quiet street in Virginia. On the back, "You stopped one of them. There are more." Claire didn't flinch, just filed it away and called her contact in federal law enforcement. She told me later, "This wasn't just about a fence. Someone wanted us gone. And I need to know why." That's where I'll leave it. Because while our neighborhood found peace again, the truth is sometimes the quiet feels less like an ending and more like the eye of the storm. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about what happened? Was Vince just a con man who got too bold? Or was he part of something bigger? Something that stretches beyond one neighborhood? And if you were in our shoes, would you have fought back the same way or packed up and left? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And if this story got you thinking, Don't forget to hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more stories that'll make you question just how well you really know your neighbors.